So last week we saw Drona's death.
The way we live our death has a lot to do with the way we've lived our lives. And so Gatakach was highly affectionate, Abhimanyu was highly affectionate. And so at the point of death, we see that even though they're facing death, and in Abhimanyu's case, in such a horribly unfair, stressful situation, still his mind is filled with love for primarily Arjuna and Krishna. Everyone remembers his mother with love. He remembers mainly Krishna, his guru, and he's so happy that he's been able to contribute. And then Gatakach too, we don't see verbatim the way we see with Abhimanyu, but he's also so eager to serve a purpose, and he's so eager to show his loyalty to the Pandava, Arjuna, and to Krishna. And he's grateful. He's even grateful that he gets to play the part. So he also has incredible presence of mind. So when they're facing their death, there isn't this like horror. And then I was talking about Drona, and Drona had lived his life making all these choices, and now he's so angry with himself, and there's so much regret with the choices he's made. But Drona had also lived a very, very austere life in terms of discipline, in terms of also he was a servant, right? Because he's serving Hastinapur means that so there's not much ego when you're serving. And so again, that's tapas. And so even though he has so much regrets, he's so angry from the night before, he's angry. Actually has died, he closes his eyes and he withdraws from all other thoughts, and he's able to center on Vishnu. And so what I'm trying to say is that the karmas he did that made him regret bore fruit. And the karmas he did that help him control his mind bore fruit. They don't cancel each other out. It wasn't because he lived a really austere life, he didn't have to suffer at all because of he made bad choices, he had to face. And it was close to his death, leading up to his death. And then in that final moment, that dedicated sadhana that he would have done throughout his life enables him to focus his mind on Vishnu and to leave. And Karuna is, I guess, everyone in the Mahabharata is so a wonderful way for us to look at our lives. And we also would have done things maybe we're not so proud of. And we also, maybe some things we have done which are really good. You know, they serve us even today. So somebody who's been very friendly and always been there for their friends, and then time's tough in their lives right now, and everyone's there for them. And you still have to face the feelings you're facing, but the consequences of me being there for other people, they're now there for me. But the anxiety that I have to face for whatever it is that I'm facing would also be a consequence of something. And this is why that law of karma is just so non-negotiable. Like, I think that's really something we have to understand, that the law of karma is just totally, there's no canceling out also. You just always face. And the way in which we face it is also very interesting. So the vast majority of us, when we have to face comfortable or difficult, we think, this is so unfair. Why is this happening to me? Right? That's the vast majority of us. And so if you see Drona, he has this feeling. He has this feeling of, this is so unfair. What was unfair? That he was a Brahmana and he couldn't afford it. And then maybe he didn't feel this is so unfair when he did some of the other stuff. But then again, this is so unfair, then I have to now fight for the Kaurava army. But it's a consequence of a decision you make, right? So very, very, very few people can do something which is maybe not so good. And then when the consequence comes, they can say, yes, I deserve this. Yeah. And because I did the action, I am now willing to take responsibility and face the consequence. And so that's how the Bhagavatam starts. The Bhagavatam starts with King Parikshit. And the Bhagavatam starts after the Mahabharata is over. So in a way, it's a continuation. In a way, it's not. So Parikshit is who? Abhimanyu's son. Yeah. Abhimanyu, who has been killed so horrendously, his son is Parikshit. And Parikshit becomes the king after Yudhishthira leaves the kingdom. And he's glorious the king. He's got all the values of the Pandavas and he lives a beautiful, beautiful life. And then one day he gets hangry. Just one day he gets angry. When I think of his consequences, I got so many days. The consequences I'm going to have to face. And he takes the skin of a dead snake and he puts it around a rishi's neck, saying, which is an outright insult. It's like you're not listening to me, you're not giving me food, you're not giving me water. So you're sitting here pretending to meditate like Lord Shiva. So here's the snake. And it's a dead skin. It's definitely insulting. Interestingly, the rishi did not get insulted. The rishi wakes up. But unfortunately for King Parikshit, the rishi's son and the friends see this dead snake on the rishi and start laughing at the son. Any kid having to hear anything about their parent just doesn't go down well. And so the son curses. Whoever did this will be bitten by a snake and dies on the spot. And so the rishi wakes up from his meditation and does a flashback, realizes who does it and says, oh no, you should not have cursed, but you can't take the curse back. So the rishi just extends and says he'll have a week to live before the snake. To King Parikshit, I'm really, 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 really sorry. My son has cursed you, and the snake is going to come, and I've given you a week to prepare for your death. And King Parikshit hears this message and says, what I did was wrong. This is a befitting punishment. And very few people can say that. Most people will say, one mistake I made, what about all the good things I did? This is not fair. Like, put a dead snake on me. Let's be fair, yo. Why does one have to bite me? This is a bit extreme. Most of us go off on this tangent, right? And most of us won't even acknowledge the thing that we've done wrong. Here, so beautifully, he acknowledges what he does wrong. He takes responsibility. He agrees that he deserves the consequence. Even though I think the consequence is a bit harsh, but the Bhagavatam had to be taught and it was beautiful. And King Parikshit got but him. So again, all good. So here, Drona, when it comes time to face the consequence, the negative consequence, not so happy to do so. Yeah. And so this is something you're going to see with all the Kauravas. Because now, basically, there's 2 days left of the war, and you're going to have a lot of people dying now. Mainly all the Kauravas are going to start. And not able to acknowledge that this is consequences of their actions. Even though they see it, they're not able to have that frame of mind where they accept it. Right? And so again, in our lives, things will happen and I'll think, yeah, I know I did that. And immediately we'll have, but. And there's still this feeling of, and the word is self-pity. There's this feeling of being sorry for myself that I now have to suffer. We really do feel very sorry for ourselves that we have to suffer. So it's so silly. Like it will be, someone like me who lived in Australia for such a long time, did all the housework, comes to Hong Kong, has a maid for a couple of years. The maid's not there. And I feel, I have to do this? Like, how ridiculous is that? How quickly we can feel sorry for ourselves. Like, it's not even a punishment. I'm doing my work. It's not like I'm doing somebody else's work. But you suddenly feel sorry for yourself that you have to do this thing. Or, I mean, fortunately, this one, I don't know. But if you've traveled business class a lot, and then if you have to travel economy, you feel like this is not even punishment. This is not even a bad. Feel sorry for ourselves that we are suffering. Now, when it's actual suffering, when somebody doesn't like us, when somebody's insulted us, when we've lost money, or we don't get a job, or somebody's favored over us for a particular, and now that's proper suffering, then how much more we feel sorry for ourselves. Feeling sorry for ourselves is one of the worst sufferings. So let's come back to me having to do my laundry. How much suffering is there in doing laundry? Zero. But if I'm feeling sorry for myself that I have to do the laundry, now there's suffering. Now that's silly, right? All of us can equally see how silly it is that I'm feeling sorry for myself, and I deserve the suffering because I'm being a spoiled brat. Now somebody's insulted me, and I'm feeling sorry for myself. None of us think we deserve it. Oh, sorry. Very few of us will acknowledge we deserve it. And 50% of the time we deserve it. Because we would have faulted, or we would have been insensitive, or we would have been, maybe knowingly, sometimes even knowingly, sometimes not knowingly. And I've seen this when I work with people. They'll do something knowingly, and they'll expect that the other person won't notice. Right. So firstly, we do something wrong. Then we do second thing wrong by assuming the other person's dumb, which is also insulting. The other person's not dumb. They know we're doing it. So then there's going to be a consequence. And when the consequence comes, we get surprised. And we think, I don't deserve this. A lot of the times we don't. And so this is one of the most drastic differences between dharma and adharma. To live dharma is to be so honest with ourselves that what I have done will bear this consequence. And so now when the consequence comes, face it. Gracefully face it. When insult comes, face it. And don't try and run away from it, and don't feel sorry for yourself. Two things, right? Sometimes you can't run away from it, so you have to face it. But a lot of us try to run away from it also. And then secondly, this unnecessary feeling sorry for ourselves. Why? Because that's so much more suffering and pain than even going through it. The feeling sorry for ourselves that we have to go through it is more suffering than actually going through whatever we have to go through. So King Parikshit didn't suffer. He accepted the consequence and he didn't suffer. He handed over kingdom to his son. He went and sat on the riverbanks, and Shukdev Maharaj came and taught him the whole Bhagavatam. There was no suffering. He was reveling in the stories of Krishna before he died. And he was cursed that a snake would bite him, and he didn't have suffering. And then we'll have suffering when we have to do laundry. Why? Because we feel sorry for ourselves. This feeling sorry for ourselves is a very interesting part of how much we suffer. Okay, so now, I had also said that when Drona had to face his death, And so many regrets on how we live our lives. And I had mentioned last week that it's very important we forgive ourselves. Not easy to do. And there's forgiveness is a whole topic on itself, so I don't want to go into it too much. But something like, when we, the best example is a kid learning to walk and then they fall. You just get up and the kid just gets up and keeps walking. Of course, the falling is very little because the kid's already very close to the ground. So that's all very cute. So then another example is when people learn to ride a bicycle. Yeah. And then sometimes when they fall, then, proper bruise, proper scare, but you just get back and you keep riding the bicycle. Yeah. So in terms of forgiving ourselves, maybe this whole life I mucked up royally. And now having to face close to the end of my life. Whatever it was that I mucked up, at least now pick myself up by letting it go. And at least let go of the feeling sorry for myself. Yeah. And even let go of the harsh judgments that we have that I mucked up. It's okay. I'm picking myself up now so that next life, it's not a redo of this life. Because unfortunately, when we don't forgive ourselves, we tend to repeat mistakes. And this is high motivation to forgive so that we don't repeat the mistakes we do this life. Okay, so Drona has been killed. Ashwatthama finds out and he's furious. And so this was day 16, right? Now day 16 goes on through the night. So it goes into day 17 almost. Is this right? No, this was day 15. Day 15 goes on into day 16 and there's lots of crazy small fights, all highly, highly, highly emotional. So from the point where Drona is killed till the end of day 16, everyone is heightened emotion. Maybe also tired because remember now they're fighting through the nights. And so emotions get worse when you're tired. Emotions also get worse at night. And this is also something for us to keep in mind. When we upset, it's going to get worse at night. This is one of the reasons we told to sleep early, wake up early. But now we live this new life where we stay up at night, where emotions are worse at night. And then we send all these horrible text messages at night in this heightened, horrible emotional state. And then in the clear light of day, 3 o'clock the next day when we wake up, uh-oh. So I'm not going to go into too many of the things that happen because there's lots of small disputes. I'm just going to touch on the major ones. First thing that happens is Ashwatthama wants revenge. Ashwatthama is who? Dronacharya's son. So he comes with full force. So like I was saying, Bhim and Arjuna and Satyaki were all having this discussion on dharma, on what's right and what's not right, about killing Dronacharya and Drishtadyumna, you shouldn't have done that. And all this discussion was going on, which was also, again, highly emotional. And interestingly, Krishna refrained from the discussion. He didn't say much at all. He just let everyone vent. Because sometimes with emotions, that's what you have to do. You have to just let each one vent. Arjuna was sentimental, okay, let him vent. And then Drishtadyumna was like, it was my purpose of living, and then let him vent. And then Bhim had a lot to say. When any emotional topic comes, Bhim already has a lot to say. But Bhim, in this case, as I mentioned last week, was very clear. So they're having this heated discussion. And in this side, Ashwatthama has gathered the Kaurava army again, and they've charged. And he has released the Narayana Astra. Now, I don't know if you remember the Narayana Astra 2 days back in the war, not in life, in the war. There was that other dude that released the Narayana Astra. What was his name? I can't remember. Soma something, Somodata maybe. And Krishna just stood there and the Astra landed on him and became a garland. Do y'all remember? No. Yes, something, because it was the Narayana Astra and Krishna is Narayana, so it got back to Krishna. And then when Arjuna said, what are you doing, Krishna? You're not supposed to be participating in the war. Krishna said he wasn't supposed to have this Astra. He was given this Astra by somebody else when they were dying, and they gave it to him like a gift, but that it's my Astra. He can't give the Astra, so he shouldn't have had it. So I took it back. Now, this is why I'm saying karma doesn't get cancelled out. So now that dude didn't do the karma to deserve the Narayana Astra. And so Krishna just stood up and absorbed the Narayana Astra, and it became a garland of flowers. Like, how cool is that? You think the Astra is such a nice thing, garland of flowers. Not a nice thing, because now Ashwatthama has released the Narayana Astra. And Krishna doesn't absorb it. It's still Narayana Astra. Krishna is still Narayana. Krishna doesn't absorb it. Why? Ashwatthama has done the actions that give him the right to use it. So Ashwatthama's karma of learning it, respecting it, being disciplined, the result of that is he can use it, even though he's using it against Krishna. So it's not like Krishna is like, my Astra, I'll take it. No, the law of karma follows. So now, from what it sounds like, this Narayana Astra is not actual fire, but it kind of, in a way, burns you and scorches you and kills you. So all these, and it's interesting also, the Narayana Astra it's not from one direction. It's like the whole battlefield is now filled with the Astra coming in from every different direction, which is also so awesome because Lord Vishnu is all pervading and this Astra is coming in from all directions. And the soldiers are like, we have to fight it. And the more they fight, the stronger the Astra gets. And then finally, Krishna says, everybody put your weapons down and lie down on the floor. And that's the only way to defeat this Astra. The more you fight with this Astra, the stronger the Astra gets. And so you have to surrender to it. And so everybody, all the Pandava army puts their weapons down and they lie down flat on the floor. And the Astra doesn't hurt them. Only Mr. Beam says, what nonsense, Ashwatthama has shot this. I'm going to fight with Ashwatthama. Nobody's going to be able to get away with thinking that they can ruin the Pandava army. Arjuna, how dare you put your Gandiva down? And Arjuna has made a vow that he will fight, but not against, I think it's children, Brahmanas, and Vishnu, or Vishnu's weapons. So Arjuna says, my vow is, I will not fight the Narayana Astra. I will put it down. And so Arjuna also puts down Gandiva, and he also flies flat on the ground. Krishna is standing, but he doesn't have a weapon anyway, right? And the Narayana Astra is not going to hurt him. So Bhim is fighting this Narayana Astra, and so the whole Astra's focus now is on Bhim. Now imagine, this is such a powerful Astra, and Bhim's the only one fighting, and so all its energy is focused on him. And then Arjuna kind of like, Bhim. So like I said, it's like a burning. It feels, it sounds, not feels, sounded. Well, it felt like it when I was reading it. It felt like a burning kind of thing. So Arjuna takes the Varuna Astra, which is water, and he makes sure it's cold water, and he surrounds Bhim with the Varuna Astra, which is water. And so you can see that, even though Bhim is being Bhim and Arjuna is like, what are you doing? There's still so much love that he wants to protect his brother to some extent, that you don't burn so much. So here's some cold water to calm you down and also save you from the scorchingness of the Narayana Astra. So, and then Arjuna looks at Krishna like, now what are we going to do? So Krishna jumps down from the chariot and looks at Arjuna kind of like, come. And so they literally walk to Bhim, and Krishna kind of holds Bhim. Arjuna takes away the weapon and they bang him onto the ground. And he's like, what are y'all doing? How dare y'all do this to me? And Krishna finally says, there is no other way to defeat this weapon but surrender. Now, what astra is this? Narayana astra. Narayana, Lord Vishnu. Astra, weapon. The more we fight with Vishnu, the stronger the weapon gets. The only way to deal with this weapon is lie down, flat. Reminds you of Shashtang Pranams, no? Surrender. And when they surrendered, so they managed to get Bhima. Of course, they're holding Bhima down. Arjuna is holding Bhima down. No, Krishna is holding Bhima down. Arjuna has taken away all his weapons. The astra lifts and just dissipates. And it's no longer there. And so when the Lord wills something, we're not going to be able to fight it. Just surrender. And it disappears. The challenge actually disappears. I think this is the bit that people need the faith in. But I've really experienced it. I've truly, truly, truly experienced it so many times in my life. Just accept. And the problem only disappears. Sometimes the person only disappears, not that they die. They move to another country or something. They get another job. They get married and become nicer. You have a kid and get too busy to deal with you. It's just the problem itself disappears. It's amazing. It's really, really amazing. But I love this. I love this scene because most of us are like bees. Most of us, we feel God doesn't want me to have this. I'll show you. And then, of course, the question is, how much do we try? So we should always try. But fighting is different to trying. Me trying to get a job, me trying to get healthy, me trying to get along with someone is different to fighting. And when we're fighting, we feel this jaws clenching, you know. And when there's surrender, there's such calmness. Even your face will look gentle when we surrender. Hearts will feel at peace when we surrender. So now Ashwatthama, the weapon disappears and they all get up and they all pick up their weapons again. And Duryodhana tells Ashwatthama, no, bring the weapon back. And this is another interesting thing about the Narayanastra. Well, from a warfare point of view, nobody can use it more than once. No soldier ever can use the Narayanastra more than once. Of course, I'm sure Krishna could, but Krishna is not fighting. Then he releases the Agni Astra, who? Ashwatthama, to destroy the Pandava army. And it literally burns. Agni means fire. It literally burns everyone. It's so horrible to even think. But I guess that's what war is, right? A lot of fire and a lot of burning and a lot of death and destruction. But when Agni comes near Arjuna, he doesn't burn Arjuna. I don't know if you remember, Arjuna helped Agni with the fire in that forest. Long ago, there was Agni wanted to consume this forest and Arjuna helped him. And so Agni won't burn Arjuna. And of course, Agni won't burn Krishna. And so Ashwatthama's released the weapon and Krishna and Arjuna don't get burnt. Neither does Bhima or Yudhishthira or Nakula or Sahadeva. And suddenly Ashwatthama gets very like, why? These like are two extremely powerful weapons. Narayana Astra and the Agni Astra are such powerful weapons. How is it that Krishna and Arjuna are like walking on the beach, just chilling? And then there's this. You must remember his father's just been killed. He's very angry. He's highly emotional. He wants to get revenge and it's not working. So he literally runs away into the forest. And so, like I said, everyone's very emotional at the moment because Ashwatthama's generally, Ashwatthama's a bit emotional, but you know, he's well trained, more or less professional most times. And he runs into the forest and he meets Vedavyasa and he asks Vedavyasa, why can't I kill them? Vedavyasa explains that Krishna is Vishnu and you will never be able to destroy him. And for as long as Vishnu is standing next to Arjuna, you'll never be able to destroy Arjuna also. And Krishna has already decided that the Pandavas will not die in the war. So there's nothing you can do. And so then there's this kind of like helplessness that sets into Ashwatthama. Now you're so angry, your father's been killed, you want to get revenge, and you can't do anything. Now, interesting that we can feel so helpless. But the same thing when we surrender feels so different. Right? So Ashwatthama is feeling, I can't do anything. Whereas surrender is the same thing. I can't do anything. It's his will. And yet surrender feels so lovely and helplessness feels so horrible. And this is what we call suffering. And this is why the scriptures say we bring on so much of our own suffering. The feeling of helplessness is terrible suffering. And so, even something like we get sick, and then we feel so helpless that we're sick. Or we get hurt, or somebody is difficult and we just can't talk sense to them and we just feel so helpless that why are they so stubborn? Why are they not understanding? I'm such a nice person. We can feel so helpless and it can feel so frustrating and suffering, right? That feeling of being helpless it's really suffering. And then there's surrender. I got sick, surrender, so be it. And immediately the mind's at peace. This is your will. I'll do the best I can and whatever you want, okay. Okay. Surrender is this. Okay. And there's a joyfulness. It's not like, okay. That's not surrender. Surrender has to be there's love for the Lord. You know best. I accept. So after he meets Vedavyasa, there's the sense of selflessness, and then he has this incredible epiphany. This is another interesting thing when we're going to die, although Ashwatthama doesn't die. He's still alive. He's one of the Chiranjeevis. In our hardest hours, we can be the wisest. And so suddenly Ashwatthama declares, everything's an illusion. In the middle of all of this, in the middle of how dare you kill my father, I'm going to release the worst astras, I'm going to run away, I don't want to deal with that. Everything's an illusion. And then I'm like, yeah, it is. Well done, Ashwatthama, for getting to that conclusion. This is the other thing about the Kauravas. They come up with these incredible epiphanies and it's gone. Because after this, what Ashwatthama does is so not even humane. It's so undignified. It's horrible. But that we'll get to in another day. That's day 18. So we're pausing on Ashwatthama now. Vedavyasa comes and tells, they come, so Ashwatthama ran off. Duryodhana took a break. The war's on break for a little while. Vedavyasa comes. Vedavyasa goes straight to Arjuna, Krishna, Yudhishthira. And Arjuna says, they all bow down, of course, first and foremost. All that protocol is done. Yudhishthira washes his feet. Arjuna says, when these astras were being released, like the Agni Astra and the Narayana Astra and all of that, I saw the form of, and he describes the form. It's Lord Shiva, standing in front of his chariot, creating a shield around his chariot. And then he's asking Vedavyasa, did I see correctly? And who is this? And Vedavyasa said, you've seen correctly. It's Lord Shiva, and he has come to serve Krishna. And so in the Bhagavatam, Vishnu is supreme, Ishta Devata, representing Brahman. Shiva can also represent Brahman, but in the Bhagavatam, Krishna is representing Brahman and Shiva's servant. And so he's come on his own free will to serve Krishna. I mean, Krishna can do it too. But this is why we say seva is such a privilege to be able to serve. And so I guess Ashwatthama used some really powerful weapons, and so Shiva wanted to shield the impact from Arjuna and Krishna. And then so many boons, right? So again, this law of karma. Shiva had given Arjuna a boon when Arjuna had done that tapas. Indra had given Arjuna a boon. Vedavyasa had given Arjuna a boon. Hanuman had given Arjuna a boon. That, and so it's not even you will win the war. It's even the suffering that he had to go through is. And this is one good thing about Arjuna. Arjuna's heart is very filled with gratitude and respect for everyone. So much respect and gratitude for Bhishmacharya, so much, even for Drona. Other people feel Drona didn't deserve it, but Arjuna gave respect to. And the next horrendous fight that Arjuna is going to fight is Karna. And while he's fighting Karna, there's immense respect. He didn't have previously. But during that fight, during this war, Arjuna has really imbibed Kshatriya Dharma, except when his attachment got the better of him and he reluctant to fight Bhishma. But every other time, he's really, really lived surrendered to Krishna. In fact, that's one of the dialogues when Bhim was fighting the Narayana Astra. One of the things that Arjuna said is that Krishna is telling you, just do it. Actually, Bhim also would listen to that. So eventually he does. But emotions were high, just too high. They haven't slept. Bhim's emotions, his Swadharma is highly, gung-ho. So he was being true to it. Okay. So now what we'll talk about is Karna. The next major incident that happens now is Karna. So let's stick to day 16. There's loads of fights going on day 16. And nobody major died on day 16, meaning none of the major characters of the Mahabharata, but Karna does this interesting thing. Karna knows he's going to die now because he's been made commander-in-chief. I think I mentioned that last week, right? Drona dies, Karna got made in commander-in-chief. So the entire 18 days, Drishtadyumna was the commander-in-chief of the Pandava army. But the Kaurava army has lost 2 commanders-in-chiefs already. Bhishma fell, Drona fell, and now this is the third. Karna is made commander-in-chief, and he's also going to fall. But he knows that he's now the next target because now he's the next biggest, strongest warrior, and so without him dying, the war won't end, and so he's going to be the. He knows already that this is what's going to happen. Now, in the Mahabharata proper, facts are given, no emotions are explained, and so a little bit interpretation has to get done in terms of what emotions are going on with Karna. So what he does is he fights with first Nakula, and Nakula is not much of a match for him. So he defeats Nakula fairly quickly, and then he insults and taunts Nakula. To the point where I think Nakula is the softest of the 5. So Nakula is even reduced to tears. Nakula runs to Yudhishthira, gets onto Yudhishthira's chariot, and is like so upset that he's been so bullied by Karna. And because we know that they're all brothers, it's very cute. But for Nakula, this is not cute. And then he fights Sahadev. Sahadev, remember, knows the future. He knows the past as well. He knows the truth, but he doesn't say anything. So Sahadev is defeated, and Karna insults him. But Sahadev, to some extent, lets it be. He insults back. Not that he's a great saint or anything. He insults back. But he kind of just lets it be. He's angry to be treated this way as a warrior, because as a warrior, they were brought up to respect each other, like as warriors. But Karna's skills were definitely superior to Nakula and Sahadev. Then he fights with Bhim. Now he's fought with Bhim a few times. And Bhim actually puts up a really good fight. And there's times when Karna is a little bit shaken by how much of a good fight Bhim puts up. But he makes sure he defeats Bhim and insults him. There's times when he can't defeat and he can't insult, but he makes sure that there was at least one time when he defeats him and insults him. But the person he fights the most with is Yudhishthira. So they've gone head on at least 5 times. There was one time when they've gone head on where Yudhishthira won. Like that really says something for Yudhishthira's skills. But on the last occasion, Yudhishthira is completely defeated and he's standing on the ground and Karna can shoot and kill him. And it would be game over. You kill Yudhishthira, it's game over. And he just turns around and walks away. Now, this is the interesting bit. Duryodhana is watching. And Duryodhana doesn't say a word. How much Duryodhana said to Dronacharya about kidnapping? How much Duryodhana says to every other soldier? And here, Karna actually could have killed Yudhishthira. And he doesn't. Now we know why. Because he has promised Mother Kunti that he will not kill anyone except Arjuna. And he has made this promise to Mother Kunti, and so he will stick to it. So Yudhishthira and Karna have fought a few times. Mostly it has gone well, but this time, Karna is just determined to insult them and humiliate them. That's his mission. So he made sure he insulted and humiliated Nakula. Sahadev was easy. Bhim, not so easy, but he manages. Well, not hard to get Bhim angry. But to humiliate, a little bit hard. And he's done it with Yudhishthira. Even with Yudhishthira, it didn't prove to be easy, but he made sure he did it. And Duryodhana not saying anything to him is like, wow, this love that Duryodhana has is something else. Love, attachment, I'm not sure. But it's love. He doesn't say a word. And Karna doesn't feel a need to explain it. So now why does Karna do this? Before dying, some people say he wanted to spend time with his brothers. And there was no other way to spend time with his brothers except fight them. Why humiliate them? He just wanted to be noticed by them. Some people say. Some people say he wanted them to know he was better than them because that was in him. There was that thing in Karna. He wanted to be better. Is that true? Is that not true? We don't know. Because only the facts are given. What he's thinking is not given. Yeah. And then one commentator has even said, he wanted maybe Kunti to know, or maybe the brothers to know, that he has spared their lives. So Karna has asked for, they should never know who I am. But Krishna and Bhishma have both told him, until you, for as long as you are alive, we won't tell them who you are. Once you die, we will tell them who you are. So Karna knows they're going to find out that he's their brother. And he wanted them to know he spared their lives. What was he thinking? Really, what was he thinking? Did he just want to have some impression, like in their hearts? He did what? And interesting, like, because when he finishes the fight with Sahadev, like I said, Sahadev even was crying. Because he was very mean with how he humiliated them. He said, my child, don't pick fights with people who are stronger than you. Like he even gave this advice to them. and he would give to everyone. He gave this advice to everyone. Like even with Beam, he was like, Beam, you are good, but you should know when to stop. So did he want to just be brotherly and give advice? Did he want them to know he spared their life? Did he want to just humiliate them so that they remember him? Did he just want to spend time with them? But Duryodhana was there, and so you can't be hanging out with them. And so to please Duryodhana, he humiliated them, but to please his heart, he spent time with them. We don't know. We don't know what he's thinking. But on day 16 night, Karna hugs people a lot of times because he knows tomorrow is his last day. Yeah. And so again, the way we face life, Karna doesn't have regrets. He's made plenty of mistakes, huh? It's not like he hasn't made mistakes. But this is one of those positive things about when you do something, be willing to face the consequences. So Karna chose Duryodhana. He's willing to face the consequences. Karna lied to his guru. He's now willing to face the consequences. Karna killed a Brahmana. He's now willing to face the consequences. I say this, but he does falter. But not to be harsh on him because it is an effect of the boons. Curses. They weren't boons. They were definitely curses. So Karna has this rendezvous with his brothers and he spends time with them and he is overwhelmed with this sense of, this is it. This is the end. And he's so encouraging to Duryodhana. And Duryodhana is so sweet to Karna. Like when Bhim is fighting Karna, Duryodhana runs to save Karna. From who? Bhim. Like Duryodhana is not thinking straight because Bhim has vowed to kill every single. So that's the other thing that happens on day 16. Bhim has pretty much fulfilled his vow. 98 sons of the Thrashtra are dead. And the last few get killed when Duryodhana tries to protect Karna. He calls his brothers to help to protect Karna. Now, Duryodhana is an interesting character. knowing that Bhim has had his mind set on killing the brothers, he keeps calling his brothers to fight with Bhim. Like, it's just, to me, nonsensical. But maybe that's the power of delusion, that he just kept forgetting that Bhim was going to fulfill his vow. So 98 of them are gone. Who's left? Dushashan and Duryodhana. Dushashan will die day 17, along with Karna. Tomorrow, next week's class will be Dushashan's. So they're sitting down, and Duryodhana and Karna are talking very sweetly. And Duryodhana says, Karna, really, we have to win this war. And the only way we can do that is you have to kill Arjuna. That's what you've always promised me. And he did. Karna had promised he would kill Arjuna. Even to his mother, he said, the only one I'll kill is Arjuna. But to his mother, he said, I know I won't be able to. So now he tells Duryodhana, okay, the pros are, I can equal his talent as a warrior. The con is, he has Krishna. Now, even if you take away the fact that Krishna is Vishnu, Krishna is a highly, 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 highly skilled chariot driver. So just from a pure warfare point of view and battle point of view, I don't have a good chariot driver. So the only way for me to even stand a chance of defeating Arjuna is I get a chariot driver that's at least on par with Krishna, in driving chariot at least. And the only person we have to do that is Shaila. Do you all remember who's Shaila? Maybe, maybe not. Shaila was Madhavi's brother. Who was Madhavi? Pandu had two wives, Kunti and Madhavi. Madhavi is the mother of Nakula and Sahadev. Her brother is Shaila. So where's his love? With Nakula and Sahadev, who are the Pandavas. How come he's on the Kaurava army? He was coming to fight this battle, and along the way, guest houses were set up for him, and food was provided for him, and he was so much entertained and kept so comfortably, and he thought it was Yudhishthira that had done all of this, but it was Duryodhana. And so when he landed in Hastinapur, Duryodhana said, welcome. And now he felt obliged to be on Duryodhana's side. And he tells Duryodhana, you tricked me. No good can come out of this. You know that they are my nephews, and of course I love them. No good can come out of this, Duryodhana. Why did you do this? And then he doesn't accept Duryodhana straight away. He walks over to Yudhishthira and he says, this is what happened. And now I'm obliged. I've taken all his kindness. I've taken all his, hospitality. And now I'm obliged. And Yudhishthira at that point said to him, I know why he's done this. Well, you were a great warrior, number one, but you were a great chariot driver. And they're going to ask you to drive Karna's chariot to fight against Arjuna. Yudhishthira already knew this. Before the war had started, Yudhishthira had already said this to Shaila. And at that point, Yudhishthira says, I understand that you were obliged and you will fight for them. I asked you for a favor. When they make you Karna's chariot driver, insult him continuously. Continuously you should talk, and continuously you should insult Karna, and you should praise Arjuna. If you do this for me, uncle, I will feel that you have fought with us. And you must remember, he loved Pandavas. He was coming to fight for Pandavas. He granted Yudhishthira this request. And so now it's day 16, night. Day 17, morning. Karna has made this request for Shaila to be the chariot driver. Now, this is a tricky request because Shaila is a king. He's the king of Madras. Like it's a huge, Tamil Nadu is a huge state in India. And Karna is like called Sutaputra. It's not even a king. Like, so you're asking a king to be a chariot driver. Of course, Krishna is a king, but Krishna volunteered to be chariot driver. But it's like, it's really insulting. And so when Duryodhana goes to tell Shalya, will you be the chariot driver? He's like, what? I'm as great a warrior as Karna. What are you insulting me saying to be a chariot driver? And then, oh, you have never heard Duryodhana say such sweet things in the whole Mahabharata as he says to Shaila to make him be Karna's chariot driver. You can hear the sugary sweet, like sickly diabetes sweet. You know this is all fake. You know this is just sales pitch, but he is so sweet. Oh, I cringed reading it. There is no greater warrior on this planet. All this kind of dialogue. We are so indebted to you. You are our only hope. It was like, oh, so much dialogue, so much dialogue. This is where Bollywood got it from. The Bollywood's over-the-top dialogue was all from Duryodhana talking, man. Why Bollywood modeled itself on Duryodhana's spiel? Over the top, definitely over the top. Anyway, Shaila agrees because he remembers Yudhishthira's request. Now, Shaila is a king of Tamil Nadu. He's a strong person. He's going to have a presence. He's a very powerful warrior in his own right. You must remember, it's already day 16 and he's still alive. Means he's got his own presence. And someone like this is going to insult. It's gonna hurt. But this is his integrity. He tells Duryodhana, I'll drive the chariot, but you should know I'm going to insult him. And I'm doing this for Yudhishthira. So he's completely honest. And so he says, you'll be better off getting someone else. And Karna says, nobody else is as good as you in driving the chariot. I'll take what I can get. And at one point, it is Shalya's driving the chariot that saves Karna's life. Yeah. For a few minutes, eventually Karna's going to die, but Shalya does save Karna with his driving skills. So we have three things working against Karna. Not we, Karna has three things working against Karna. Quick backstories and then we'll pause. We'll let him live one more week. Karna wanted to learn warfare. He goes to Rishi Parshuram. Parshuram refused to teach Kshatriyas. He asked Karna, what are you? Karna should have just said, I'm Sutaputra. But he lies and says, I'm a Brahmana. Actually, Karna should have just said, I don't know. My mother and father found me in the river. Yeah. And the parents that brought me up are chariot drivers, so they're Vaishyas. No, Shudras. So he would have been fine because Parshuram's problem was with Kshatriyas. Turns out he is a Kshatriya. But he didn't know that. So he wouldn't have been lying. But he lied. He was definitely not a Brahmana. He could have said Shudra. He wouldn't have been lying if he said Shudra. He could have told the truth. I don't know. He didn't tell the truth. Now, why this is important is because there's another incident in the Chandogya, no, not Chandogya Upanishad. Which Upanishad is it? Doesn't matter which Upanishad. Satyavati, no, what's his name? Satyakama. Do you know who I'm talking about? No, you don't know who I'm talking about. He goes to his guru and he's born of a prostitute. And the guru says, who's your father? And he says, my mother doesn't know. And he says his mother's name, who's a well-known prostitute. So he doesn't lie. And the guru says, somebody who has this much courage to speak the truth is a Brahmana. And I accept you as a student. So Karna too could have done the same thing. Stories are there that the guru will look into your heart and know and appreciate that you spoke the truth. But unfortunately, all of us have our fears. Karna didn't want to get rejected, so he lied. Then one day, Guru was sleeping, afternoon nap. Karna said, sleep on my leg. Seva. A bug came and was biting into Karna's leg. And Karna bore the pain because he didn't want to flinch and wake up Guru. The blood trickled and touched Guru's skin, making Guru wake up. What's this? Blood. Where's it from? Your leg. He sees the bug biting into the leg. He sees Karna being able to withstand that pain. And he says, you've lied. No Brahmana can endure this kind of pain, which is very bad on Brahmanas. You are definitely a Kshatriya. But that is a Kshatriya quality, this ability to withstand. Now, the thing is, he did lie. He didn't know he was a Kshatriya, but he did lie. So then Parshuram says, you have stolen the knowledge. Anything stolen cannot benefit you. So when you need this knowledge the most, you will forget it. Curse number 1, he's going to forget. He was so upset that he got cursed by Guru, and something to be upset about. But he was, this whole feeling sorry for myself. That's really what he was doing. He was sitting on the ocean, feeling super sorry for himself. From the periphery of his vision, he sees something. He shoots. Why? Reflex, maybe? Emotions are high, maybe? Destiny? Who knows? He shoots a calf. The only livelihood of a Brahmana. Calf, small calf, not even full-born cow. It's like a small, innocent, helpless. The farmer was so angry. Like, what did he do to you? As helpless as the calf was when you shot him, you will be that helpless when you die. Your chariot wheels will sink into the ground. You will not be able to move. Quite elaborate. His curse was quite elaborate. This Brahmana really thought it through, really wanted Karna to suffer. Because it wasn't just, you will die. It's the specific, the wheels will not move, they will sink into the ground. You will not be able to fight. You will be feeling helpless, confused, disorientated. And then the third thing was Shaila, his chariot driver. Is going to be criticizing him the whole time. After Abhimanyu, Karna's death is the most pitiful. So let's see next week what happens. Curses will come true. But the day has just started. They have just gotten onto their chariots. Day 17 starts. We'll pause here. Yeah, we can pause here. And poor Karna, actually. Day 17 starts with Bhim killing his sons. So before he dies, he watches his sons being killed by Bhim. Isn't it obvious he was a Kshatriya because he was born with a kavacha? Yeah, you would think so, no? Well, no, not necessarily. The kavacha was Surya Devata. We don't know if the mother would have been a Kshatriya. Part Kshatriya. Yeah. Who should have known this? Anybody should have known this. So Parshuram should have known this. Parshuram? Why Parshuram didn't know he was a Kshatriya? You're right. Parshuram is an avatar. He seems to be a rather unique avatar in the sense that he doesn't follow mainstream, right? Like even with Ramchandraji, he didn't recognize Ramchandraji, whereas that's a fellow avatar. Maybe he's just playing his role that way, right? Because that's what avatars do, they play. Bhishma, who's a Kshatriya. Yeah, Ganga's son. I know, I agree with you. Parshuram should have known he's a Kshatriya. Maybe he did, maybe this is Leela. I don't know. But Parshuram's avatar is very unusual. Very, very, very unusual. The most difficult avatar to understand. Really. That's why I hardly ever talk about him. I haven't completely understood it. So why people didn't know he was a Kshatriya if he had the kavacha? Good question, huh? It was bright gold and very shiny. No, I just think it was adopted into a family of a Shudra. They didn't know, right? Nobody knew he was adopted, I guess. They didn't advertise. He knew, but others didn't know. So if your parents are Shudras. And he was very respectful to his parents. So he didn't go around saying, I'm adopted. But I don't know. I don't know why it wasn't obvious that he was a Kshatriya. Duryodhana recognized him. Yes. Oh, wow. Karna humiliated his brothers so that when they find out he was his brother and they get sad, the pain is less because he was nasty to them. Maybe. Like I said, I don't claim to know why he did it, but he definitely made sure he humiliated them. And it could have been for Duryodhana's benefit. Because maybe, he didn't explain to Duryodhana why he didn't kill them. So maybe humiliating them was telling Duryodhana, look, I've humiliated them, but he couldn't kill them. Even on his own accord, he couldn't kill them. Part of him thought he would kill Arjuna, part of him knew for sure he wasn't going to. Just that little bit.
Die trying. I'll give it my best shot.
Yeah, he wanted to give it his best shot for Duryodhana's sake. Yeah, there's not much story left. I should just finish Karna's bit. It's just everything coming into effect. It's very painful bit to read. Gatakach is horrible, but it's not so painful to read the way it's written. Abhimanyu's bit is very painful to read. Karna's bit is very painful to read. Vedavyasa has really put so much emotion in there. Parshuram, I'm very clueless about. I'm not sure what Parshuramji was thinking. He seems to have a great softness on him in some aspects because he wanted to give Amba her justice. Even the way he treats Bhishma, so sweet, so gentle, so fatherly. And then, you know, at the beginning of his avatar, he's like a Rambo. It's just ruthless. No, I really don't understand the avatar. But it seems to be a smaller dose of an avatar. Even never mind the fact that he was an avatar. Just as a guru, he was lied to and he gave this curse in terms of karna. Yeah. Okay. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Kabhag Bhavet Asato Ma Satkamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityama Amritangamaya Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi